All right, everyone. J.R. Dukes at your service. I hope you can hear me. Let me make sure we got everything working the way it should be working. Appreciate everyone taking time to join us today. We have a lot to talk about with this Fani Willis thing going on. So give me 1 second. I want to make sure everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat. Obviously, you got a comment section there at the bottom, so you can go ahead and just put any questions that you have. Just put them in the box at the bottom. Okay. All right. Looks like we're coming through just fine. All right. Fair enough. All right. If you have any questions, as I said just a second ago, go ahead and put them in the comment section below. This StreamYard software works pretty well. So, yeah, I got you here. Yes, I can hear you too. Thank you, Rogue. I appreciate that. All right. Folks, this has been one great day. You know, I've been all over this Fani Willis case. I mean, I have just dove headfirst into this case. I think this is fascinating. This case, to me, is the reason why there are so many problems right now politically in our country. You have essentially a DA, a district attorney there in Fulton County, Georgia, Fani Willis. And let's just be honest about it. Thanks, man. I appreciate your comment. The bottom line is this: you have a DA in Fulton County, Georgia, and let's just call it what it is. This woman, by all appearances, she's a crook. There's no other way to say it. She is engaging and has engaged in corruption. There was a hearing today. I have some video I want to take a look at in a few minutes. Also, I have a copy of the actual motion filed by Michael Roman's attorney. So here's the brief overview. You obviously are aware of this RICO action, racketeering internally corrupt organizations, via Fani Willis. The Fulton County District Attorney filed against Donald Trump and a whole list of other individuals. The same thing is some of these people are just grandparents. You know, they're just regular old grandparents, grandmothers. Some of these people never even personally ever talked to Donald Trump. And what's sad about this is if you have a conviction for RICO in the state of Georgia, there is no discretion by the judge. It is 20 years in prison, period. You don't get another chance. You don't have the option for the judge to say, hey, you know, you seem like a nice guy, it was a mistake, and they go ahead and lower the sentence. That's not an option in the state of Georgia, and it's extremely sad. I feel personally, I'm trying to read y'all's comments at the same time, so I appreciate your comments. If you have any questions, like I said, go ahead and put them in so that I don't want to lose anybody. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in there so we can go ahead and address them. This RICO stuff, you may remember a couple of videos ago, I did a video on this right here. This was designed to go after mobsters. It was designed to go after individuals that were engaged in real crimes, like a regular mobster. That's you know how they get these laws passed. They tell everybody, hey, we need these hard-hitting laws. These laws are very important. We need these tools. And of course, as prosecutors, we're going to be very selective in who we use these laws, these rules against. And that just never happens. Once people are given a law like a RICO law, as it's such a terrible club, and they hit people over the head with these things, and it's devastating. It would be devastating to anybody on the receiving end of a RICO action. It is, I mean, can you imagine that you one day are just a normal person, the next day you're hit with a RICO action? Well, at any rate, let's put it this way. If you're living in a glass house, I wouldn't want to throw stones. There's been many individuals, by the way, that has came up against Donald Trump, and they ended up having major problems of their own. If you don't believe me, just ask, what is that guy's name? Michael Abernathy. Remember that attorney? He used to be on every news station, especially CNN. And he was like, I'm in Donald Trump's head. I'm in Donald Trump's dreams. He can't sleep. He thinks about me all the time. Well, unfortunately for him, he's serving 19 years hard time right now. And then you have that other guy that was going around the country as a Republican filing lawsuits against Donald Trump saying, hey, whatever, I want you to go ahead, Judge. I want you to disbar Donald Trump under the 14th Amendment. He's impeding my right to run, blah, blah, blah. Well, this guy, unfortunately for him, he turns out he's a CPA by trade, and he just recently got indicted for basically he was telling people, and this is alleged, so I want to be careful to make sure I say the word alleged. If the allegations are true, was basically having people come into his office. He's doing the normal paperwork for them that you would normally be accustomed to with a CPA. But the difference with him, he was telling people, hey, listen, I can save you even more money. I'll file the papers for you, but here's the deal. Whatever I save you, I get half of it. And of course, that's almost always a red flag as far as something criminal, something wrong. If you get a CPA like that, you probably better get another CPA, if you know what I'm saying, because something seriously is not right. All right, we're going to get started here. I have the actual. I want to look at the case that happened today in Fulton County. This judge is really good, Scott. I forgot his last name, but this guy is a great judge. We're going to take a look. He's very soft-spoken, very well-spoken, and I like the way he handles business. And I cannot say enough good things about attorney Ashley Merchant. She works out of Cobb County. I believe it's off Whitlock Avenue, if my memory serves me correctly. And not only is she beautiful, she is so smart, and she is really good. She is definitely a good representative of the law, and I really appreciate her doing the job that she's doing. She is the reason this whole case is blowing up, or more accurately, imploding. It's because of her. A quick little background. You may or may not be familiar with the name Michael Roman. Michael Roman was one of the small figures, if you will, in this so-called RICO situation. Well, what happened was the grand jury refused to indict Michael Roman. They heard the evidence and they said, no, we're not going to indict him. Generally speaking, it's extremely rare if a DA cannot get an indictment. You ever heard the expression that a judge would indict a ham sandwich? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Any DA, any solicitor can generally get an indictment, anybody they want. But in Michael Roman's situation, they would not return an indictment. Well, you would think a normal prosecutor would say, hey, if you don't see the evidence there, then I don't see the evidence there. I'm not going to indict him. Well, you'd be wrong, because Fani Willis decided to take her car, so to speak, and just run him over anyways. So she filed charges on him, as you probably figured out by now. He went ahead and had the good fortune of hiring attorney Ashley Merchant. Like, I just love this woman to death. She had the presence of mind to get online, start going through county records at the Cobb County office there. You know, a lot of the records nowadays are online. Here in Florida, where I live now, basically everything is online. We have sunshine laws here. And I mean, with very few exception, everything is public record, and you could pretty well find out whatever information you happen to be looking for. Well, she went ahead, and I'm assuming she went ahead and typed in Nathan Wade's name, and surprise, surprise, he was in the middle of a divorce. He ended up filing for divorce the day after he took this contract job with Fani Willis at the Fulton County courthouse with the district attorney's office there. That's what you call ironic, right? That's a little bit of making you think. What a great idea. Go ahead and get a hold of his soon-to-be ex-wife and start smashing. Oh, one other thing, too. Miracle of miracles, as soon as she started prodding around and she got a copy of the divorce action, it was automatically sealed by a judge, which, of course, is in violation of Georgia law. Ashley Merchant went to a Cobb County judge, and he ordered it opened up as it should be for all of us to see. Trust me when I tell you, there is a ruling class, and then there is me and you. I mean, it's just the way it is in life. You know, there's one good thing, too, about this saga, if you will, with Donald Trump, is that people now get to see what I've always known. There is a two-tier justice system. If you are broke, if you are, let's just say you're normal, you're middle class, whatever, there's one type of justice for you. If you're wealthy and you have the money to afford high-powered lawyers and investigators, you're going to receive a different kind of justice. I'm just telling you that that's just the way it is. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It is the way it is. And, you know, the more I think about it, I'm going to change what I just said. I think it's wrong. It's just absolutely wrong. It should not be that way. There should be something where it shouldn't be a perfect trial. I don't think we're entitled to a perfect trial, but we sure are entitled to a fair shake at this trial. And I think that's the way it should be. And that's not the way it is. There was a famous case years ago. I believe it was Gideon versus the state of Florida. To make a long story short, this was a guy that was actually convicted, went to the Supreme Court. He said, hey, I never had representation. I never had a fair shake. The justices agreed. It went back to the same judge, the same jury, and the guy was acquitted. They made a movie about it years ago. I forgot how long it has been, but it was some time ago. So the bottom line is, it's important that you have legal representation. We all have a fair shake, but that's not really what goes on nowadays. And if you don't believe me, just go to your local courthouse and visit the prosecutor's office. You're going to notice they got nice, modern offices. They have a staff of secretaries and other individuals helping them out. They have the most modern computers. They can pretty well check and look into anything and everything electronically. Then go by the public defender's office. It's generally in the basement. It's in the corner. The desk has stuff stacked up. You know where I'm going with this. It's just two different worlds, and something just tells me that's not right. So we're going to share these papers right here before I get much further. Let's just check and see what's in the messages here. Yes, I appreciate everybody's comments. Thanks for putting some comments in. Yes, I'm building a channel, Matt. I appreciate that. You know what? I've been doing this for a couple years, but I started actually doing asset protection is what it boiled down to me when I first started, because I love the subject of asset protection. I think it's important that we all look after our assets, because you never know when you're going to have a problem, this type of stuff. And I made some videos about that and had reasonably good success. And then I think it's been about 4 or 5 months ago, I started really drilling down on the political end and just modern things, current events is probably the best way to say it, that's going on right now. And I enjoy it. I enjoy having folks to talk to. I enjoy helping people. You'd be surprised. Folks have questions just on basic things. I'm 54 years old now, and somebody has to be taught. Someone has to learn even basic things about our country. We have a lot of people that were not necessarily born here, and they don't know how our system works or how things basically function in our country. And it just brings me a lot of joy to help people think. I generally try not to say, hey, this is the way you should believe. I much rather give you the information and you make your own decision, good, bad, or indifferent. As long as you make your own decision, I refer to it as free in your mind. And I believe strongly that when you have the correct information, when you know how to simply think and understand better, then you can live better. You can have a better life as a result of that. And I think too often in our lives, we all kind of go through life without thinking, without evaluating everything in our life. And I don't know about you, I'm tired of being told what to think, told what to believe. I am also a patriot. I love our country. I can assure you, when I bleed red, white, and blue. I love our country. I love everything about our country. We are a great country. We're a good country. We have problems. There's no doubt about it. But I believe the United States of America has been blessed by God. And I got to stop because I'll get emotional about it. I really do believe in the goodness of America. If you think things are bad today, yeah, they're bad. But I'll tell you this, if you were living right now today in 1860, 1861, 62, it would really seem bad back then. And of course, for the folks that don't know, that's back during the Civil War, where the states, the North and the South, were battling each other. So that's when you're really divided, is when you have those type of problems. The truth is, we've always been a divided country. We probably always will be a divided country. Hopefully, through dialogue, through conversation, we can find a way to work out our differences, and we'll just have to go from there. Hey, thanks for the $10. That's the first $10 I ever made on this. It just tickles the living, out of me. Oh, what a kind individual. Yeah, I love that. Don Frank, you're the man, Don. Thank you. I'd put your name up here if I knew how to do it, but I'm still practicing with the software on here. So again, I appreciate that. If you got a question or something I can answer or help you with, just let me know. You guys are the best. I'm going to go through these comments real quick, and then we're going to drill down on this motion today, because I think this is fantastic. All right. They get rid of Trump. They're coming. Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. They get rid of Donald Trump. They are definitely coming for us next. I like the way Donald Trump does that. I call it Donald Trump 2.0. He definitely seems like he's much better right now. Man, someone else gave me another $20. You guys are the bomb. I really appreciate it. I'll pull this up as I go through this, but I do firmly believe that we have to get things right. And if I like Donald Trump's 2.0, as I call it, he's back. He's a little more focused, a little sharper. I don't think he's as edgy as he was before. I hope he stays on point, stays on message. He's a little more diplomatic for the most part. And let's be honest about it. I don't expect Donald Trump to win any type of Mr. Congeniality contest. Do you? I don't. The way I look at it is that he is he's a leader. He's a president. I personally take comfort, and this is just me. You don't have to agree with me on this. I'm not looking for someone to fill a religious position. I'm not looking for I don't know, a therapist in chief. I need a leader. I need someone that's strong, and I need someone that people respect and people can stand behind. It's just my opinion, and that's just the way I see it. So, hey, Linda, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. I really do. And let's see here. Yep, they're definitely coming for all of us. I don't have any doubt about that. I'm going to just kind of go through our messages here. You guys are the best, and I really do appreciate it. Yep, there's no hiding from this anymore. Joe, appreciate your comment. Yeah, I definitely think there should be some kind of penalty that she faces. I really hate to see anybody in a cage at the end of the day. You know, I mean, I can just imagine jail has to be a terrible, terrible place to be. I really am kind of straining to say I'd like to see her in jail, but I will tell you this. There needs to be a serious penalty for what they have done, what they've done to Donald Trump and these other individuals. And if they end up serving a small amount of jail time, then so be it. But at a minimum, they should be prosecuted under the law. They definitely should be brought up and disbarred. I think that's pretty well just a basic beginning, and we'll just have to see how that plays out. Yeah, Jesse, I agree. I think she should be disbarred. I will tell you this from my own recollection, as far as the state of Georgia is concerned, I don't believe that the state bar there is very aggressive, if you know what I'm saying, as far as attorneys. From the research I've done, you have states that are pretty aggressive in policing their own lawyers, but Georgia, unfortunately, is generally not one of them, unless an attorney does something absolutely outrageous, like steal the money from a client that they're supposed to be holding in trust, something along them lines. Yeah, Don, judge should make an example of both Willis and Wade with fines, jail time, disbar the DAs. Yeah, I agree. It's if she's done what obviously it looks like she's done, something's got to be done. It's just the way it is. Don, you're the man. Don Frank, I appreciate that, dude. I really do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all thinking of me like that. Well, let's hope we're not on the brink of any type of Civil War 2.0. I will say this. It has crossed my mind. I'd be lying to you if I did not think that there's always that possibility of having a civil war. Do you know when the last time that we actually had a presidential candidate taken off a ballot? It was 1860. The name of the candidate was someone you're probably familiar with, named Abraham Lincoln. He was removed from the ballot from the southern states. And then, of course, you had the northern states trying to and starting to retaliate. And we all know how that turned out. And so, yes, it definitely crossed my mind when I was seeing so many states trying to take Donald Trump off. Obviously, they're so scared of Donald Trump. The only way that they can beat him in their mind is to essentially imprison him, to put him in jail. And if you are like, oh no, he committed a crime, he needs to be held accountable. Why didn't they do that 3 years ago? Why did they wait till now? Why did they wait all this time? I mean, it's clear what's going on here. It's clear that this is election interference. The irony for me is that all this time they've been harping on Donald Trump. Oh, he's an insurrectionist. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's trying to interfere with our elections, like with the nonsense in Georgia and whatever. The irony is that's exactly what the Democrats and these crazy liberals are doing. You cannot say that the Democratic Party today is the Democratic Party that even Bill Clinton belonged to, especially John F. Kennedy. There's just no way that it's the same party. They've been hijacked by these nuts like AOC and what do they call it, the Squad, and these people that belong. And you have people that are not supporting Israel that are coming out and wishing Israel would be pushed into the sea with that, what is it, to the river, to the sea? This is just nonsense. Now, listen, I don't support war necessarily. I don't like to see people hurt, people injured. But when you have a group of terrorists that fly over a wall and they literally destroy towns, 1 or 2 towns. What was there, 1,500, 2,000 people killed? And they weren't just killed, they were tortured. And I don't want to get off on that tangent. You can look that up yourself. Just all kinds of sick nonsense. And any rate, I just hope you join me in praying for Israel. This is something that we have to do. We have to stand with them. This is wrong. And when I see wrong, I call it out for what it is. So at any rate, we'll see how that works out. Matt, thank you. I really appreciate, Matt. You are the bomb today. You guys are great. Thank you. Don, we left a comment. I left the comment on my grand jury on next. Yeah, okay. All right, and Jesse are sick and tired of Democrats who uses. Jesse, that's an interesting point. My girlfriend, I've been with now about 5 years, just over 5 years. She is Venezuelan, and we met back, I think it was 2018. It's kind of funny like that. You want to know why the border is open? Because the Democrats, I mean, it's not difficult. You just have to think about it. The reason the border is open is because it's a power grab. At least it's a power grab. The Democrats and liberals figure that, hey, all the people coming across the border, these are future votes. And if it's not these individuals that can vote, the children can vote in 18 years. That's exactly what they're betting on. But what they're forgetting is not every minority, not every Hispanic individual is going to vote Democratic. It's just not going to happen. My girlfriend, for example, she can't stand what has happened to her country. They have been destroyed by this socialism tea. They've all been drinking this nasty tea saying how great socialism is, and socialism is terrible. Even my own children, I love them dearly. If they're listening right now, it is what it is. But the fact of the matter is, the socialism, it looks good on paper, it sounds good, it just doesn't work. It's a one-way road to destruction. And I really hope the United States and the populace in general wake up to that fact and just say, this is unbelievable. This is not what we want. And we move away from that. I think there's a lot of indoctrination going on. That's something I absolutely rail against when I make a video or whatever. Is indoctrination is really a serious situation right now. Yeah, Don, all the J. Yeah, I like the way Donald Trump refers to them as hostages. It's very compelling that that's exactly what's going on with these J6 people. I'm sure there were some bad actors on J6. I have no doubt about that. But at the same time, the police were definitely doing things they should not have been doing. That poor girl, that former Illustrator, she got killed. She was shot dead crawling through a glass window. I don't hear anybody talking about that. And that guy that shot her, he is the same officer that left his gun in the bathroom of the Capitol building a few years ago. I mean, this guy has a history, let's just call it, of issues. And I saw a video of some other protester that was up like on the staircase. I believe he was 20, 25 feet in there, and a cop pushed him off. And of course, he suffered severe injury. So it's not all what they tell you it is. There is another story to it, and the overwhelming majority of the people there were peaceful. They were just simply walking and looking. They were let in, at least in different sections. They were let in by the police, by the Capitol Hill police, and they just walked around looking. And to go after people and charge them like that, that's just ridiculous. And I'm tired of being told what to think when it comes to that stuff. I know what happened that day. I'm not really happy with anything that happened on that day, but it has definitely been overblown. One final comment on J6. There's no doubt in my mind, at least, that let's just say they seen us coming, if you know what I'm saying. The term insurrection, using it 4 years ago, and it happens to be the word that's used in the 14th Amendment. You know what I mean by seeing them coming? That's exactly what I'm talking about. They saw us coming, if you will, and they were thinking, well, we'll use this term. If Donald Trump ever rears his head up again, we'll start throwing it at him. So that's another subject too. I don't see the Supreme Court barring Donald Trump off the ballot. I listened to that entire case, the questions. At first, I was a little concerned that some of the liberals might actually uphold the state of Colorado's decision, but taking everything into context, I'm pretty sure as a whole, they're going to find some way to come together in a 9-0 decision. If I'm wrong, it's going to be an 8-1 decision, but that's the way I see it playing out. I'm not a fortune teller, but we'll see how this works out. So yeah, criminals you're right. You're right, Lauren. Criminals used to be sent to jail and prison. Absolutely. I'm just for okay, Matt. I'm just for Americans first, whatever that means. Like a mediocrity. Never worked for a poor person. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Fanny better have my money. Okay. I appreciate that. You're right. I appreciate everybody just keeping the comments nice and professional. Yeah, I agree with you, Ben. I hate to see anybody hurt. Don, Russia said the CPP in Russia are just laughing at what is going on in DC and how one party is going after another party to put them in jail. It's funny you should mention that again. I have yet another video I did not long ago. There is currently right now, this is not the past, this is right now. There is a young lady, I can't say her name, it's in Russian. It's a very long name, but you can check out my video list. She was attempting to run. You talk about a brave woman. This is a brave young woman. She was trying to run for president. She wanted to run on a platform of stopping the Ukrainian war. She filled out the paperwork, and in Russia, they have a tribunal, like a commission, and she sat before them. They said, basically, oh, your paperwork is not in order. So what happened to her? She was simply denied. You just can't run. I mean, the exact same thing that they did to Donald Trump, or they tried to do to, well, they actually did it to Donald Trump in Maine. And they did it in Colorado. And look, how about that broad in Maine, that Secretary of State? I tell you what, that is one woman that just irritates me to hear her speak. I mean, that's just, I mean, the hubris of that woman, that she's so important that she's going to speak for 335,000 people, ever how many people's in the state of Maine. She was going to decide who they could and they couldn't vote for. I mean, that's just somebody that thinks they're important when they're not important. So, all right, and no, I don't believe that my big sister, Fani Willis, will be disqualified. Well, you may be right. We'll wait and see. When we look at the case here in just a second, you're going to see that the judge went ahead. I mean, the breaking news of today, the judge did say that the case is going to go forward. So basically what happened today is they filed a motion to quash the hearing that was filed by Ashley Merchant, the attorney for Michael Roman. They fought it pretty hard. It was a pretty good hearing. We're going to listen to just a piece of it because I like some of the stuff that happened. It should be something we talk about. But at the end of the day, the judge was very direct that the hearing will go forward on the 15th. It's going to be televised for the entire world to see. And it's going to be embarrassing for Fani Wade and Nathan Wade. And I want to talk about this in a second, but I think they're going to have a perjury problem. They got bigger problems coming because they're getting caught in a lie. I'm sure you've heard the expression before, oh, what a tangle web we weave when we try to deceive, or something to that effect. The bottom line is these people put it on record in a sworn affidavit that they did not have any type of relationship as far as a personal nature, whatever that means, before he was hired as a contractor, essentially, for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. But that's going to be shown to be a lie, I believe. And the reason for that, another breaking story today, there's not just one whistleblower coming forward with the Fani Willis situation. There is a whole bunch of people lining up to come forward. Folks, I have actually had to make a list. You probably can't see it because of my my background stuff, but I got probably listed on my iPad right now. By my count, there's 14 to 15 active cases going on against the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and or Fani Willis and Nathan Wade by default. So that's a lot. And it seems like every time I go to YouTube or I start just searching the web, there is another case, another problem. Have you never seen it before to where somebody, if they would have just said, okay, you caught me, that's the end of it, and you have a penalty and it's over with? Well, what people end up doing is they try to hide it. And today, especially when you're in the public limelight like this case is, there's no hiding it. I would say there's only degrees of losing. And Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have not decided on what floor they want off on yet, if you know what I'm saying. And this elevator is going straight down quickly. So we'll see. Man, I'm not very religious. However, it seems God has picked Trump. Well, you know, that may be the case. Personally, I'm a Christian myself. I'm not the kind of guy that I'm not on here preaching. Just not something I do. If somebody wants to talk about it, I'm happy to talk with them about it. But I do believe that God brings people in and out of our lives and in and out of our leadership position. So that's probably a good point. All right, and let's see, John Rudy G cleaned up New York using RICO. Yeah, he did. As a matter of fact, I think he's one of the first ones that actually started the ball rolling on getting those type of laws passed. It was John Gotti and some of the other mobsters. I believe, if memory serves me right, it was New York that really started putting the screws of those guys. And Rudy Giuliani back in the day when he was mayor of New York, he was really popular with a lot of the liberals and Democrats in New York at that time. And yeah, he did clean it up. He did a lot of good for the city of New York. And unfortunately now he's not as revered as he used to be, at least in the New York City area. Everything, Matt, everything is going to work. Yeah, everything's going to work out. You'll always remember that too. No matter how bad it seems, things seem like they always work out. That is very true. I've learned a long time ago. I do what I can do, and then when I've done everything I can do, that's it. It's over with. I just go about my life, it's just the way it is. So, all right, Mrs. J, nothing is going to happen to her. She will get a baby tap on her big fanny. Yeah, that's pretty funny. I seen someone else today. I kind of stole that title, but someone said something effective. It was like a title for Fanny. It said, well, actually, I used it in my thumbnail for this clip. It says a dirty Fanny. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. A cute little play on words there. So, Don, my friend, if Fanny does lose her job, she can always endorse. Oh, good. Yeah. I've seen a few jokes like that. Mr. J, he hasn't even been served yet, so they might have to. Speaking of service, Fani Willis today, how would you like to have this happen to you? She got a knock on the door today from the U.S. Marshal's office. That's breaking news for you. Isn't that interesting? Have a nice little knock on the door and the U.S. Marshal's office at your door. That would be a great day, wouldn't it? Well, what happened is she refuses to accept a subpoena from the U.S. House of Representatives that's investigating her and Nathan Wade at this point for misappropriation of the funds that were given to them for specific purposes of some type of children's activity. I forgot exactly what the terminology was, but it was specifically for some children. And the other investigation by the House is dealing with, it's kind of the same thing, but just a little bit of a different switch. And that is, there was a whistleblower that came forward and told Fani Willis, luckily there's a recording of it. It's the reason why we have evidence of exactly what happened. The whistleblower told Fani Willis, says, hey, this particular guy is misappropriating this money. It's not what it's intended for. The wording of this money, of this award or whatever you want to call it, is very specific, and it's to be used for a very specific purpose, and this is illegal. And surprise, surprise, guess what? She was terminated within 30 days. Just another batch of smoke, if you know what I'm saying. So I think we're winning too, Matt. I do. We just have to keep on keeping on. I got you there. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and dive into this document that I have here. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it because I want to get to the video, but I do want to review this here. So I'm going to put myself at the bottom of the screen here, so I'll make this as big as possible here. And so what we're looking at here, this is the actual document that was filed by Ashley Merchant to the court. Obviously you have to file paperwork. This is, you can see State of Georgia versus Michael A. Roman. Defendant Michael Roman's supplemental reply to state's response to motion to dismiss and motion to disqualify. So basically all this means is that the attorney, Ashley Merchant, she filed paperwork with the court saying we need to have a hearing, which is the hearing that's going to happen on the 15th. And she said that there's been, and we're going to go through it here briefly, the allegation she lays out here, but she's saying there's been some, let's just call it malfeasance with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, and she wants to have a hearing. Well, Fani Willis does not want to have a hearing. So she filed paperwork, and that was what the hearing was about today, to what they call, in legal terms, they call it quash. They wanted to quash, think of it as smash, do away with, get rid of this particular hearing that's going to go forward this, Wednesday the 15th. So that would be Thursday. By the way, remember Valentine's Day is coming up, so just a friendly little reminder there for everybody. So anyway, we're just going to go through this a little bit. It comes now, defendant Michael Roman through his undersigned counsel. Okay, so this is what it is. And they got some of the allegations laid out here, and it's just kind of interesting to read. And remember, this is her response to their response. The court is faced with a monumental and historic task in deciding whether to disqualify the elected district attorney in this case, involving the prosecution, I would argue persecution, of a former president of the United States. It's unprecedented. We're in uncharted waters. Mr. Roman understands that this is not an easy decision, particularly given that this is an election year and we are living in politically charged and polarizing time. Nonetheless, Mr. Roman or the court has put us in this position. The district attorney has. This woman's really impressive. Wait till you see her in action. I just think she is fantastic. And the important role and function of the judiciary to protect the integrity, sanctity, and fairness of the judicial process. So basically, this is just saying that, Judge, we need your help. It's an important time. The principles are important. And this is a case of significant magnitude. And she goes on talking about, did you see that video, by the way, that shows Fani Willis when she ran for office? She ran against a woman that was engaging allegedly in, let's just call them affairs, that with people that she was working with. And it was costing the taxpayers a lot of time and a lot of money because there was litigation that resulted from it. And she's like, oh, that will never happen to me. I will never allow that to happen under my watch. Just kind of funny to listen to that. And of course, Fani Willis is basically another Letitia James. She also ran on a platform that she was going to get Donald Trump. So it just shouldn't be allowed. Do you know every other developed country, a major developed modern country, has it to where you have basically they have different titles for the position, but basically there is an independent person that I believe most places have it to where the governor or the president appoints this individual so that there's not a lot of politics involved. Basically, the prosecutor has to go to this person and say, hey, I would like to indict this person. Do I have your permission? And it's designed to stop this type of craziness, because this is the kind of thing that can undermine an entire country. I don't want to sound too dramatic about this, but this can destroy a country, even a country as great as our country. Imagine every time a president leaves office that there is some solicitor, some DA, prosecutor that decides something he did is illegal and they're going to try to put him in jail. I mean, it's not something that I think is anything I want to be part of. So it's troubling. It's troubling at the at a minimum. Here's where she lays out basically the strategy. The state's strategy here is obvious and purposeful. Avoid having to answer any real questions directly by using inflammatory and dogmatic defensive rhetoric intended to falsely minimize the important claims. Avoid having to answer real questions by ensuring Willis, even by affidavit, does not have to respond. You're going to see too when we watch that video, they got the goods on these people, and I'm telling you, it's heading for a perjury problem. Just wait and see. Having to answer any real questions. I mean, she just laying it out here. They're doing everything they can to stop their ability of getting answers and finding out what's going on. And I hope that the court is smart enough to see what's going on. And I think when you see this video, you're going to see that this judge is pretty smart. I mean, he's very calm. He's got a very relaxed demeanor, and I think his rulings are pretty fair. I think he knows how serious the situation is, and I think he's also going to give the DA just enough rope to hang herself, if you know exactly what I'm saying on there. So we'll wait and see. Let's watch a little bit of this video. I think you're going to love this. Now, just for context, this is what happened today in Fulton County, Georgia. You see Judge Scott McAfee, and he's the presiding judge, and you're going to get to see Ashley Merchant and the state. So let's just start listening in, and we'll talk about it as we
could figure out a way also to have
so let's see
him appear visually for everyone here in the courtroom as well whenever they're speaking.
So
okay, so we've got Miss Monroe, Miss Banks
here, and we'll get our feed checks or sound checks and everything.
alleges a personal relationship that resulted in a financial benefit to the
Alrighty,
district
we got
attorney. That is no longer a matter of complete
it's the beauty of live
The state
programming
has
here.
admitted a
Here we
relationship
go.
existed. And so what remains to be proven is the existence.
Give me 1 second. We'll get it
extent
set up.
Of any financial benefit. Again, if there even was one. So, because I think it's possible that the facts alleged.
All right. The judge is going to give some rulings here. This is the funny thing about doing something live. I forget to put my earpiece in. Isn't that embarrassing? It's kind of funny, but all right, here we go. This is the judge. He's going to go ahead and give some preliminary rulings, and then we're going to fast forward just a little bit because I want you to see what Ashley Merchant has to say. So here we go.
Today, focusing in on OCGA 24-13-22. And just as that initial argument goes, I do find that the article of the code dealing with these subpoenas doesn't make a distinction between a subpoena for the production of evidence and the production of testimony. And that's for several reasons. I think what plain reading of the statute at issue doesn't limit Quash to just one type of subpoena. And I'd note there's a previous section of the article that explicitly defines the term subpoena to include both production of evidence and testimony. I would also point out the Joyner case cited by defense counsel.
All right, you see how quiet, even-minded he is. The bottom line, I can sum this up. He's basically saying that I'm going to go ahead and let this hearing go forward, but he wants to talk about some of the other witnesses. That this lady right here that you're looking at, this is Ashley Merchant. This is the one I keep bragging about. She is one sharp cookie. And the other gentleman beside her, I believe that is defendant. I can't tell if that's Roman or not by looking at it because his hair is so light, but that might be her client. She's the lawyer that actually originally got the ball rolling on all this, like I said earlier. So she is really one sharp cookie. And let's see what she tells the judge. She's pretty good. Here we go. They'll get a better mic on her in a second here.
All right. Thank you, Judge. Okay, so let's turn. I didn't really have an idea of the particular order, unless anyone's jumping up and down and says they have another conflict they need to get to. Why don't we start in the?
They start this man across here. This is actually the state's attorney. She's representing Fani Willis in this particular hearing right here.
Position is, and I think the evidence
she's pointing out the state's position in this particular case here.
Counsel has ever
we'll listen for just a second here.
Cannot be in good faith represented to the court as having information that would be relevant to any of the individual issues that the court has identified to being of interest. These witnesses, again, have never been spoken to, and nor Ms. Merchant nor anyone.
Okay, I can summarize what she's going to say. She's going to say a bunch of nonsense that Fani Willis, and I want to hear Ms. Merchant again. But basically, what Ms. Cross is going to say is that, hey, there's no reason why we should allow all these witnesses to come in, because she subpoenaed like 12, 15 different individuals that work in the DA's office in Fulton County. What she wants to prove is that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are liars, that they're lying, that they committed perjury. This will basically allow them to throw out the case, to be perfectly honest with you, because she can prove a criminal matter is exactly what's going on here. So the judge is asking her questions. Well, what are you trying to elicit out of these people? And what she's going to say is these individuals have seen these two together as a couple before they said they were ever a couple. I mean, it's just proof of an illicit relationship and possible perjury. So let's see what she says here. So this is Ashley Merchant again. Let's listen in.
Judge, a couple things on the state's response or the state's argument to Quash, Judge. First, I'd just like to point out the state is asking that this sworn affidavit from an officer of the court, from Mr. Wade, be considered. But when we were in federal court, Ms. Cross argued that an affidavit is not admissible. We don't believe an affidavit is admissible in this case. You can cherry pick in an affidavit what you want to talk about, and there's no cross-examination. So that is not, it's not admissible. We put that in our brief. We've argued that it's just not admissible. It's not relevant. It's hearsay. It's nothing more than hearsay. We have a right to make a record on these allegations. And as long as we keep our evidence and our questions narrowly tailored to that inquiry, that is our right. we have a right to explore whether or not there was a personal or financial benefit to Miss Willis from this relationship. And we have carefully chosen the witnesses that we have subpoenaed based on that. And I just want to walk through a couple of them. But before I do, before I move on the affidavit issue, Mr. Wade has filed other affidavits in his divorce case, which contradict this affidavit. His interrogatories, which were sworn and verified and filed in that case, said that he did not have a personal relationship, that there had been none. So we've got two declarations in two different courts.
All right, someone asked about if Anna Cross is a prosecutor. Anna Cross, as far as I can tell, she's simply representing, for this particular motion hearing, she's representing the DA's office. Generally, even though the DA is her own lawyer, you always, as a matter of professional, the way the system works, you always get an attorney to represent you. So that's what Ms. Cross is doing. To my knowledge, she's not a prosecutor. She's just representing Willis on this particular motion, this particular quash motion. And you see Ashley Merchant, she's getting into the meat of it right now. She's explaining to the judge why he needs to go ahead and let this hearing go forward on the 15th. She says, I have caught these people in a lie, Judge. There's affidavits that they signed saying that X did not happen. And she's saying, I got the goods that it did happen. And if it did, there's going to be a lot of problems.
Both sworn, both filed with the court that say something completely different. His May, let's see, it was his May 2023 affidavit where he was asked if he had, and this was in 2023, Judge. So the state's response last week said they had a relationship that began in 2022. In May of 2023, he filed in the Cobb County Superior Court a pleading that said specifically if he had had any relations with a person other than his spouse during the course of the marriage, and the typical things that are asked in a divorce case. And he responded, none. After we filed our motion in this case, he updated those and he pled privilege under the Fifth Amendment. So we've got a filing under oath by Mr. Wade in 2023 stating he didn't have a relationship. Then we've got a filing stating he did have one starting in 2022. And then once that came about, he fixes the incorrect affidavit that was filed back in 2023. So we definitely have a conflict, Judge, in the evidence.
Yes. In case you didn't catch that, this is extremely interesting. And I have not heard this reported by any of the news media, none of the news media stations. You have Nathan Wade, the prosecutor, boyfriend, the paramour, whatever you want to call him. You have this individual that in his divorce filings said, I was not having a relationship with any woman. No, I was not, period. Well, he went back now after filing a sworn affidavit, which could open you up for a perjury problem. And now he went back and he amended it. And he's simply saying, I plead the Fifth Amendment. Can you imagine what's about to happen on the 15th? This is going to be so brutal.
When this relationship started, just from the hearsay affidavits, we've got a conflict, Judge. There's also some other things in the Wade affidavit that we have conflicts in. We've got the date. We've got whether or not they cohabitated, whether or not there were any funds that he was paid, that he used for travel with Miss Willis. We have quite a few documentations that we have attached to filings, and we have more that we intend to present at the hearing in this case to show that she did receive a lot of benefit, a lot of financial benefit in the forms of different trips, plane tickets, hotel rooms, Ubers, dinners, things like that. We have all of those from the financial records, which I'll go into in just a minute to stay on task. Go into those in just a minute. But that's as far as Wade. Why we think that Wade definitely should be called as a witness in this case. How can Mr. Wade not have relevant information to this inquiry? That is the real question here. He probably has the most relevant information to this inquiry.
Yeah, just to make sure you understand where we're at. She is saying that, hey, we have to have Nathan Wade here. The state is trying to say that the district attorney should not be here. She doesn't have any relevant information, if you can believe that. And they're also trying to say Nathan Wade should not have to show up for the hearing because he has no relevant information. Are you kidding me? This doesn't even pass the laugh test, much any other test.
Same as Miss Willis. She probably has the most relevant information to this inquiry. Mr. Bradley, the state has taken it upon themselves to file a motion to quash Mr. Bradley's subpoena. Mr. Bradley has not filed a motion to quash. The divorce in this case was not filed until November 2021. The only privilege that can be asserted is things that were said in furtherance of legal advice. So if Mr. Wade made statements or comments to Mr. Bradley in furtherance of legal advice, we're not going into any of that. We don't have any intention of getting into a privilege dispute, what was privileged and what was not. The relevant information that Mr. Bradley has to this inquiry is that this relationship started prior to Mr. Wade being appointed as a special prosecutor in this case. He has firsthand knowledge that this relationship predated that. He has knowledge, and not privileged knowledge, Judge. The divorce action hadn't even been filed at that point.
Yeah, remember, the bottom line is this. They're trying to say these people shouldn't show up. That's what the state's trying to say. There's no need to show up. They have no information. And of course, Ms. Merchant has to show the judge that there's a reasonable expectation that these people have information that could help further her case, and not just information. That's not good enough. They have to have information that's not privileged, like attorney-client privilege or something along them lines. And she's doing a very good job of convincing the judge that, yes, all these people basically have firsthand knowledge that Nathan Wade and Fani were basically doing the nasty, if you know what I'm saying, way before the day they say they were not engaged or around each other in that type of way.
He has personal knowledge, not privileged knowledge, that they had cohabitated, had stayed at the same place. And, you know, I certainly don't intend on getting into an argument over what the term cohabitated means. They had stayed together. Mr. Wade had stayed at places that Fulton County was paying for Miss Willis to stay at. He's got information about that. We have outlined all that. We've made a proffer. That is not privileged information, Judge.
And unlike some of the, I guess, other witnesses that are here challenging their subpoenas, my inference from the supplemental reply is that this is something that you have corresponded or communicated with Mr. Bradley about directly.
Yes, only non-privileged information. Yes, Judge.
Yeah, he's just questioning her about the,
So-
he's basically questioning her, the attorney, Ashley Merchant. And I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to see if I can't get her on to do a program with me one day. I've made some preliminary contact, and there is a possibility of that happening. So we'll see exactly how that works out. What I want to make sure I emphasize to you is just how important this is. I do not hear any of this reported in the legacy media other than for them to say that the judge has said the hearing will go forward. So the bottom line, the conclusion for this particular hearing is that the judge has pretty well allowed almost all of the witnesses that Miss Merchant wants to call. He said, hey, they got to show up. And that includes the DA Fani Willis, and that includes Nathan Wade. You have to tune in coming up the 15th, which I believe is Thursday. Can you imagine what's going to happen at that hearing? They're going to put Fani on the stand, and she's going to say, yeah, in my affidavit, I said I had a personal relationship. Well, what's a personal relationship? What does that mean? Is that like Bill Clinton saying, well, it depends on what the definition of is? I mean, it's going to be one of those moments, because a personal relationship gives them some wiggle room. Like, what exactly is a personal relationship? Now, as adults, we don't think twice about it. We know what a personal relationship is, or cohabitation. But this attorney, she's not going to have none of it. She's going to drill her down really good. She's going to be asking pointed, embarrassing, let's just say PG or R-rated questions at a minimum. How embarrassing is this going to be for a DA and the lead prosecutor? And let me tell you what my prediction is. When Nathan Wade and probably Fani Willis is on the stand, this is what you got to get your head around. They are going to say, Your Honor, I plead the Fifth Amendment pursuant to the Constitution of the United States. Can you imagine that the prosecutor, the district attorney, is going to have to take the Fifth Amendment? Did you commit any crimes? Did you lie? Did you commit perjury? Again, my prediction is strong, solid. It has been unwavering. And I'm telling you, this case is over. This case is done. Even Fani Willis, in her previous statements has said that she had a hard time finding anybody that wanted to touch this case. She could not find another individual, another firm that wanted to basically take over this case, and for good reason. Fani Willis was the one known before as the so-called RICO expert, whatever that means. She was supposed to be the RICO expert. So that was her excuse in hiring her lover. And by the way, she hired her lover in violation of the law, but this judge says it's no big deal. You can go ahead and do it. Well, how did she hire him in violation of law? She was supposed to go to the Board of Commissioners there in Fulton County and get their approval whenever they want a special prosecutor. It's basically to make sure what's happening now does not happen, because they would have asked the questions. Do you know Fani Willis? Are you two involved? Is there anything that's unethical or improper? See, when you're a prosecutor, you're not supposed to have it's not even supposed to have the appearance of impropriety. It doesn't matter. I get a lot of comments on my site that says something like, oh, well, I don't know what her sex life has anything to do with this case, or it's none of my business what their sex life is. The hell, it's not my business. They're trying to interfere with my right to choose who I want to be president of the United States. You should be upset about it. I sure am upset about it, and we shouldn't tolerate it. And I hope, like many of you have expressed here today, that she gets exactly what's coming to her. So listen, we're at the hour mark. I'm going to start winding it down. I'm going to start doing more of these live deals. I enjoy them. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. Hey, special thanks to my new friends. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you're with me, you might as well hit the like button, hit the thumbs up button, give me another like. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe, and listen, share this video and any other video of mine that you find interesting with your friends. Anybody that you think is indoctrinated, send this video over to them. Let them listen to this bald-headed guy and say, hey, go ahead and put this through your brain and see if this makes any sense to you. If you have any questions for me, you can always reach out to me. My information's at the bottom of the screen. Easiest way to reach me is just go ahead and leave a comment. I try to answer all my comments personally. As a matter of fact, if you subscribe to the channel, I always answer your comments directly. So that's something I do. And if that ever changes, I'll be the first to let you know. Again, it's been my pleasure, and I'm truly humbled that you would take time to tune in our YouTube family here and have time to see what I have to say. I always say, my friends, keep that mind free, never give up. And until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.